Hey guys, good evening. थोड़ा सा कैमरा सेट करना है, सीधा करना है. Assistants है नहीं, so I'll have to do it on my own. And yes, so right now the camera is stable. My pet is looking at me, and now he's come here. So we are here to talk about teaching of English in India. Teaching of English in India is the topic today, and here we are going to talk about English as a foreign language, how it came to India, how it came to the subcontinent, what was the methods used by the foreigners and the Indians to adapt a new language, how the language one, native language, and how the language two, the alien language, the English language, they had their reciprocational or assimilation, their own understanding, their own developments. What are the methods? What are the different structures of learning English in India? So, in short, today we are going to talk about teaching of English in India, and we'll be dealing with all those things. So, before we start, let's wait for other students because the link has been shared with almost everyone, and soon the number will increase and we will start the lecture. So, till then, before we go for it, I ask you some basic questions and I want you to note down those things. I know the comments have been switched off for this particular thing so that you can actually, I can actually focus on lectures. So now what to remember? First thing, make sure you have studied Herman Hesse. Today, when I was solving Jamia's paper, they talked about Buddhist Jatak Katha. So they were dealing with the writers who have translated or who have taken the reference of Buddhist Jatak Katha. So sometimes when we talk about the religious reference in literature, in Buddhism we hardly have a lot of books in English literature, like normally that we study. So like Edwin Arnold's Light in Asia, that's an important work. Along with that, Matsuo Basho, he's an important writer, he has talked about this thing. Herman Hesse, his famous work Siddharth has been asked in net exam and deals with Buddhism. So make sure you remember that. Don't forget this thing. In T.S. Eliot's Wasteland, Data, Datta, Damyata, Dayadhavam is the reference, which is again a Buddhist reference. So make sure you remember those writers. Then in French language, in French literature, make sure you have studied Honore de Balzac. This is most important writer. If you have not studied this, if you did not prepare these things, then do it now. This is the time. The simple work is Father Goriot, Old Goriot, written by Honore de Balzac. This is very important work. Then if you go for French literature, once again, don't forget the most important writer, Albert Camus. He's also the part of existential writers, absurd writers. Albert Camus' Stranger means outsider and Myth of Sisyphus are very important work. Samuel Beckett also falls in the same category. But when you study Samuel Beckett, 90% student read only Waiting for Godot. So they think reading Waiting for Godot, they are prepared with Beckett. No. When you read Waiting for Godot, it's fine, it's good. The first publication is in French, 1953, En attendant Godot. Then another publication is 1956 in English. Vladimir Astrogon, one is suffering from kidney issue. Then there is a boy who comes. Then Lucky and Pozo, who are those characters? But along with this, make sure you know Endgame. Make sure you know Malone dies. All of these works are equally important than Crab's Last Tape. Go for all these works. And I give you one or two more writers. Then we will switch to the topic. Almost 250 students have joined the live class. एक वर्क और पढ़ो, read this book. This is very important. You should read it. Luigi Pirandello, 1934 Nobel Award writer. His famous book is Six Characters in Search of Author. A kind of metafiction work, and you must read it. There are questions, two questions in net exam. Read Jean Rhys, White Sargasso Sea. You are going to the exam, so make sure you have read these things. In books ke bina exams mein jana is a big mistake. If you go to the exam and you're not prepared with these things, V.S. Naipaul, House of Mr. Vishwas, if you're not prepared with these things, E.M. Foster, Passes to India, or Muriel Spark, Prime of Miss Jean Broody, if you're not prepared with these things. Alan Selito, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Then there will be a blunder if you go to exam. John Osborne, Look Back in Anger. Read these things. David Laws, London Museum is Falling Down. Kingsley Amis, Lucky Jim. Whatever the books I have told you in the 5 minutes, first 5 minutes, the preface 5 minutes, do it today. You are losing day. Now 15 to 20 days, all of a sudden, the second list will be released and you may have your exam either just before Holi or obviously after Holi. Chalo. So put the title, Teaching of English in India. We are going to talk about this thing. Now, my dear friends, when English came to India, we know this thing that Macaulay was one of the first man who came with this idea to promote English language. He said, we want to create the race of people who will be European by their thoughts, by their learnings, by their mindset, but Indian by their color and blood. So, when he started this kind of support of English language in India, English became the language of the Madras Presidency, which is also known as Butler English. Then Butler English is started with Madras Presidency, which is a question of net exam. Then gradually, the Indians who started learning English, the Britishers used those Indians to teach English to other Indians. Now, who teaches us spoken English? Our own Indian people. So Britishers, they taught some Indians and they used those Indians to teach others. And this is how the rise of Babu English, it took place. One of the finest example of Babu English is Miss Pushpa T.S. A question of this question has been asked in last night exam. Miss Pushpa T.S. is one of the finest example of Babu English. Now please remember this thing. This is a work written by Nissim Ezekiel where he makes fun of Babu English. Now what are the basic structures of teaching English in India? ELT. Please write down this thing. ELT. English Language Teaching. So English language teaching is the umbrella term, the base umbrella term. Means all the languages, all the structures of teaching English in India will have one base. The base is, the big term is ELT, English Language Teaching. Now, as we are talking about English language teaching, English in India is a second language. So we will call it L2. And L1 is a native language. Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. That can be L1, the mother language. L1 is the mother language. L2 is the second language. So how L2 can be taught to the people who do not know L2? So first thing that comes is, this is a very important thing, CAL. Communicative language approach. So what happens here in CAL, or we can simply call it CLA also, communicative language approach, they teach you English in English. So this is very important, CLA format. Communicative language approach means teaching English in English to the people who want to learn English. What happens when you go to the English medium school? Suppose you come from Hindi medium background. All of a sudden, somebody has opened an English medium school in your vicinity, and then you want to join that English medium school. So, what is the procedure to join an English medium school? Money, right? They won't ask you anything else if you have money, right? So you pay the money, you are eligible to join the school, but you come from your native language background. You speak Hindi, you don't know English. You have joined English medium. Now, how will they teach you? So will they teach you that, okay, my dear friend, from Hindi to English, there is a process to go? Or the very first day with your bag, you will go to the school, you will say that everything is in English and I am just the part of it. The teacher will come to you and he will say, hello, good morning, how are you? And you don't know what is he talking. All of a sudden, you are put in a circumstances where everybody is speaking English. There was no bridge course. They did not help you to come from Hindi to English learning. They simply picked you from Hindi, added you in English, and now teaching you in English. The finest example is the English medium school's prayers. When the prayers are being done early morning, a lot of students who have recently joined, They don't exactly know what are the words in the prayers. So what they do, while everybody is singing the English prayer, they are just rhyming. What they do to avoid shame, to look that they also know the prayer, they just do the rhyming. That is a direct approach, communicative language approach. Then the another approach of learning English in India, which is being used is a theory propounded by a professor in Bangalore, N.S. Prabhu. N.S. Prabhu came with the idea. Please write down these names. ये नाम नोट कर लो, ये एरी गेरी क्लास नहीं है. People don't teach these things in the classes. So remember this. N.S. Prabhu, task-based language learning, TBLL, task-based language learning. So in the schools, when you give them some homework, your teachers, they give you a homework that, okay, write down this thing, write an essay, write a letter to your friend, and come with the homework done. That's called task-based language learning. Then we have computer assisted language learning, CALL, which is used in CBSE schools. Computer assisted language learning, your gadgets, your internet things, they are helping you to learn English. Now everybody has started typing in English on WhatsApp, even our parents. They type in English, they can read that thing. Then comes the multiple drills, the drills of making them understand. Suppose I am the English trainer of L2, I go to the school, they only know Hindi language, they only know the local language. I have to go for repetition drill. I will say good morning, they will say good morning. How are you all? They will repeat it, how are you all? Then I will say I am fine, they will say sir I am fine. What is your name? Then they will say what is your name? Then I will say my name is Vineet, they will say their name. Repetition drill. Then there are question answer drill. What is your name? My name is Ram. What is your father's name? My father's name is this. Question answer drill. So technically these are the methods of teaching English. Then comes sandwich technique. Sandwich technique is a simple method. You are talking to the language 1 speakers, you are language 2 speaker, you go to the class to teach them. You say stand up, but they did not understand, they don't know it. So when you said stand up, you immediately translated it in Hindi, khade ho jao. And now they understood. So when you said stand up, they got curious, but they didn't understand. Then you said khade ho jao. So they automatically got that stand up means khade ho jao. And again you said stand up. So stand up, stand up. First word, again the last word, stand up is L2. But the middle one is L1. That's called sandwich technique. If you like, this is the bread, this is the bread. In between we have potato, aloo, just like the bread is foreign thing, aloo is native thing. Sandwich technique. Potato is native, bread is foreign. So L2 are the outsider things. Common thing, the essence is L1. This is a technique to teach them. Then comes the GTM method, grammar translation method. Grammar translation method, you can simply teach them the rules, regulations of grammar, subject, then verb, plus ing, plus object, plus adjective, these kind of rules and regulations. This theory is called GTM. Then comes Michael Halliday. There was a question in Jamia exam also. Michael Halliday's functional grammar. So he came with the idea of some basic functional grammar. Especially he was helping the children to learn grammar. So he had 7 different rules, 7 different structures of helping the children to learn the functional grammar. Ideational, he came with ideational metafunctional grammar. Then he came with text metafunctional grammar. Like these are the options. Normally people don't teach this much. So he differently came with 3 different ideas along with 7 functions. Then comes Noam Chomsky with the universal grammar concept. Noam Chomsky came with the basic idea that to make them learn English, instead of teaching them all the concepts of grammar, why don't we teach them only the grammar which is basically required to be the part of a language curriculum in the world. Noam Chomsky, he simply came with the idea of universal grammar, question of net exam. This has been asked in exam. Along with that, C.K. Ogden and I.A. Richards, these people came with another theory. The theory was that let's have a collection of words which can help anyone to learn English in an easy way. And they came with the idea of basic English. Basic English was the group of approx 850 words. First it was 821 words, then they added some more words, 850 words which are enough to make you understand English. Tell me this thing, all of a sudden you are taken to England, all of a sudden, suppose you don't know English, you are not good at English, but you all of a sudden go to England, will you survive there or you will die? Will you be able to talk? Like, yes, because you know the word food. You can say hello, food, hungry, sleep, thank you, please help. Means you know the basic words to survive. So why should I teach you proper English, proper grammar, when I can just make you mug up 850 words to survive anywhere in the world? That was the idea of I. Richards and C.K. Ogden. The idea is called basic English. This is also used in China's elementary schools. China के जो बच्चे हैं 5वीं 6वीं 7वीं के, they follow this thing. The Chinese schools in their 5th 6th 7th class, the elementary level, they use this basic English concept. Then when this basic English concept actually became famous, Jean-Paul Nere came with the idea of globish English, 1500 words. Then Warnick Alexander came with the idea of nuclear English, 1000 words. And just like this, we have marine language, marine English, then English for specific purpose, question of net exam, ESP, English for specific purpose. This was also asked in exam. So, if I tell you this thing, in Haryana, Charkhi Dadri, 2 planes in the sky, they got, a kind of mishap, an accident. All these planes, all of those people, they died. What happened? Why these 2 planes could not see each other and they met an accident in the sky of Haryana, Charkhi Dadri? When the reports came, there was a report that the plane number 1, plane number 2, and the Indian aviation control, air control, they could not communicate in proper English. Funny, but yes, we were also not that good in English. They were also not that good in English because they were coming from some Gulf country or somewhere else. So they could not understand the radar controller's guidance. So the man who was in charge of air traffic control, he was guiding them in English, but they did not understand. They went for the wrong meanings and boom. So they decided that let's have a particular language for a particular field. So English for specific purpose means the people who are in the Navy, they have marine language, marine English, selected words. You must have seen in army, what happens? Army people, how they talk. A colonel and a major who are in a battlefield, how they talk. Hello sir, getting heavy fire, over. Now suppose you are the new colonel and you're not trained. Over. 35 runs, 5 wickets. Can you do that? Or you are asking me over 35 runs, 5 wickets, we may win. He's saying, shut up, we are getting fire, we need ammo. In short, English for doctors, English used by army people, English used by Navy people, so English for specific purposes. Then another term came BE, business English. These are real big terms, multiple terminologies are there. The business English, which are some common words used in particular sector. How many of you know what is the exact English phrase for the word Rajkoshiya Ghata? Hindi newspaper padha hai, Rajkoshiya Ghata, exchequer deficit. So you must know those words. Sometimes we say that the shopkeepers understand the language of the doctors. They have their different kind of language, which is called ESP, English for specific purpose. Now this pattern is also called register, question of net exam. Register is a set pattern coded language used in a particular context. If I'm talking to my father, I know he is my father. I must choose my words, my tone. So when I talk to my father and then when I talk to my best friend, there are two different ways of talking. This is called register. When I am not Vineet Pandey in front of camera, in front of my classroom, I talk in a different way. But then when I'm in front of you, I have to behave like a teacher. So I have a set coded pattern of communication. That's called register. कहते हैं ना हम सामने वाले को देख के बात करते हैं. That is called register. Just like this, we have the idea of Pedgin. Pedgin is a common language used by two people who do not know L2. English in India has been called a Pedgin. It plays a role. You know, the national language of India for official purposes is English, which is lingua franca. English is lingua franca. You know why? Because when Hindi, people said that let's make Hindi national language. Hindi is not a national language. People said let's make it a national language. So the South Indians, those who were speaking Tamil, majority of people they were speaking Tamil. They said we don't know Hindi. Why should Hindi be imposed over us? So why don't you make Tamil the first language of India? So technically there were multiple languages. So all those 22 languages having a struggle between each other. So they decided that we will have 22 languages for understanding and paperwork, but English will be the official language. High Court proceedings, Supreme Court proceedings, all the rules, regulations of the top government officers, everything comes in English. They give you a translation in Hindi, and even in your UGC net paper, you read the rules and regulation. They simply say, this is unfortunate also, this is sad, but this is our reality, this is our geopolitical condition. They say that read the instructions in Hindi, but if you do not understand those instructions in Hindi, English instruction will be taken as the final one. So दुख तो मुझे भी है कि इंडिया के अंदर हिंदी नहीं चल रही, but these are some important points. I have given you approx 20 to 30% content of the lecture. I'll provide you more. If you think in 20 minutes you actually got some fruitful knowledge, like when you like, the video gets shared with everyone. Your like is simply a love for me, a salute for me. Thank you so much, and soon coming with more details on this thing. We'll talk about dialect, idiolect, heteroglossia and ideoglossia. Thank you so much. Good night. Take care.